Hey, everybody. So I like to save the best for last, and you guys know that. So this is part 3 of how to hire rockstar employees. And Brian has laid out some amazing stuff in the first couple episodes. And today we're going to kind of bring it home. But I want to make sure that you at least go look at his course, which is brand new, just now being released. Go to bootcamp.automategrowsell.com. It's an inexpensive course. It includes all of the processes that Brian talks about, everything, all of his documents, everything. They're all built as editable PDFs, so you can change them, add your logo, tweak the questions, whatever you want. But he has a very specific, very effective system for recruiting, interviewing, vetting, onboarding, and developing A players for your business. It can save you thousands and thousands of dollars, and it's worth your time. So don't forget to bookmark that and go check it out. It's available now at bootcamp.automategrowsell.com.
Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast with Joshua Latimer, where we discuss business, life, family, faith, struggle, fire, pain, and ultimately winning.
It's time to take massive action. Look, I can't work harder on your life or business than you do. It's ultimately all on you.
You know, God created all the food the birds would ever need, but he doesn't put it in their nest. You've got to go get it.
10 out of 10 people die. So how about doing something today that actually matters while you still can? Hey everybody, Josh here, wrapping up day 3 of a 3-part series interviewing Brian Hegarty. He is a Krav Maga instructor and an expert fisherman with 27 years in the pressure cleaning business. He's hired over 1,000 people, lots of them really bad, but he's finally cracked the secret code, and he only hires A players now. And we're going through his process because it's spring, and this is a huge deal. I have 8,000 people on my email list, and I send out surveys once a year, and I ask everybody, what is your number one pain point in your business? And guess what it is every time? I know Brian knows, employee issues. And it was true for me. It's true for all of us. It's a huge thing because a company is just a bunch of people. And if you got bad people, your company is going to be broken. So we've already covered, Brian, kind of why you created the Ultimate Rockstar Employee Toolkit, which is this whole video training with tons of docs and all that. And I roped you into that. But you're also breaking down just for free here what you do. And so we talked about recruiting, and we talked about how you got to go fishing, and you got to create the right bait, and you got to fish for the right species in the right pond and build an avatar. And we're building an ad for A players. And then once they get reeling in, you're reeling them into the boat. You really don't even interview them yet. You have another barrier, a roadblock, a filter, a pre-qualifier where they call an 800 number, and you explain the job specific for that position. And then you give them detailed instructions on exactly what to do and to leave you a 2-minute voicemail answering all these questions. And then the people that make it through that are pre-qualified, then you actually call all their references, and you have a script, and you have genius questions, and you frame it in a way to get their references to not lie to you and say, oh yeah, Mary's great. You're like, and go back to listen to yesterday's episode, guys, if you didn't hear that part. That was gold. And then the interview process is an hour long where you're doing all these pre-built questions to find out if they're hungry, humble, if they have people smarts, and they have, I forget the last one, doesn't matter, but we went through all that stuff. Yeah, we went through all that stuff. And now I want to talk, if we could, about your training and development program and really culture. You know, the training and development, that's when you begin the culture conversation, and that's where it all starts, right? And you're going through this right now with the 12 new hires you have so far. Go ahead and take it away from there, Brian.
Well, the culture is everything in your company. If you look at, like, for instance, Microsoft, right? Or go look at Apple. Apple's culture, if you remember, I think it was in 1984 or 1985, which is probably older than most of the people that are listening to this, but there was a commercial, a Super Bowl commercial, and it was, just Google it, Apple commercial from 1984. And you'll see all these people in gray walking down this hallway, and the screen is yelling at them in this big room now. And that represents, like, the corporate machine, like IBM, like corporate world. And this blonde with long flowing hair wearing white and red comes running through here with the gray guys chasing her, and she winds up with this hammer and throws it through the screen, and it says, Apple, be different. Now, Apple's culture, and that's what attracted people to go to work for Apple and what attracted people to buy Apple products, was that you, and if you notice, everything with Apple is I. iPhone, iPad, it's not we or us, it's I. And it's I against the world. So individuality is what Apple culture was. And that's why everybody went to work for Apple. Apple took on computers. Then they took on the phone system. They came out with the iPhone and went to every phone company and said, hey, we made this phone, you make it work on your system. When before, the systems used to say, you make a phone that works on our system, and the only one that picked it up was AT&T. AT&T made a buku bucks because they went with Apple and changed their system to meet Apple. Then Apple took on the recording industry. They said, I don't want to buy your whole album. I just want the one song. So they made iTunes. So they went on taking on corporate big stuff and smashing it.
Yeah, and there's podcasts now, which is also because of Apple. Podcasting was an iTunes thing. There's podcasts now that have, 1 million listeners a day. And like it's killing radio. Like they've changed industry for sure. And there's no doubt their culture is amazing. How does a little business do that? And can you be too small to drive culture? I mean, do you have to have 10 people?
No, you know what? Well, here's what I'm getting at. So Jobs, right? He started up Apple, and here's why he started it up. He was like, I'm taking on the man. Who's joining me? Okay, so you have to look at back. That was his why. His why was he didn't like the way that the corporate world was telling everybody what to do. So he was going to change that. So why did you get into business? You have to go all the way back. And in order to like shoot an arrow, so you want to go forward, but in order to shoot an arrow, you have to draw the string back. So you have to go from where you are right now and go backwards and look at why you started up your company, your culture, and get your culture in your head and get your culture into your training program. For me, the culture was to have I owned 24-hour gas stations, and they were driving me crazy. I went through 140 employees in 1 year. It was just like, it was so much stress, 24 hours round the clock, 365 days a year, all kinds of problems, people stealing from me, running out of gas at the gas station. I mean, like, you couldn't put people driving into gas pumps, the place lighting on fire. I mean, like, if it could have happened, it would have happened. And I thought, when I get out of this, and I sold it, and I said, when I get out of this, I'm going to get into a business where I'm going to work in the summertime, and I'm going to take the winter off, and I'm going to do what I want to do in the winter, and I'm going to live my life. And the key thing that happened for me, that was 1989, and ironically, the day I sold my gas station was the day my father died. It was April 10th, 1989, and he died when he was 57 years old from cancer. He got melanoma skin cancer. And I looked at him, and he was very successful. I mean, he was successful in his own right. He never gave any of us money or stuff like that. It's not like I was a rich kid or something. I mean, we had 7 kids, a lot of mouths to feed, and the first pair of new jeans I ever had, I bought on my own because I said to my dad, "Dad, can I get new jeans?" He goes, "Where are your brothers done with them?" So, I mean, like, we didn't have any money, but when my dad died, I looked at that and I thought, wow, if my life expectancy is 57 years old, like my father, and I'm 29, I can't keep doing this at this gas station 24 hours a day. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to die a slave to this place. I don't want to do that. So my why was to start up a business where I worked 8 months out of the year. I had 4 months off, and I could do whatever I wanted. And by the second year, I had my power washing company going. That was before Home Depot, before the internet. So I had to drive to Texas and get my first machine. I mean, I've said this on your other podcast, so I'll just cut it short. But I spent, from the third winter on, I spent like almost 20 winters living in Colorado, skiing all winter long. Have hundreds of days skiing at Vail, thousands of days skiing all through Colorado. And that was my why. I wanted to be able to enjoy my life while I was young and why I was living. So that is my why, and that's what I convey to my people that work for me now. You can come here, make an entire year's living in 8 months. We'll keep your health insurance benefits going year-round. You can collect unemployment in the wintertime. And some guys think, oh, having a seasonal business is negative. It's positive.
Well, that's what I wanted to comment on that, because you have almost naturally taken what most of the people that have seasonal businesses look as a major, major problem, and we use it as an excuse. Well, it's impossible to get an A player because, I got to lay them off for 3 months. But that's like your whole sales pitch on why it's awesomer to work for your company. And I think it's really cool. You've flipped it. You've just reframed the narrative and turned what I guess could be perceived as a negative into a positive. That's awesome.
Yes, and it's a total positive. Like this year, the first thing we did with training, we got up and I had all my current employees get up and say what they did all winter so that all the new people could understand it. And they were like, yeah, we're One of them went to Europe for 5 weeks and traveled around and did 13 countries. Another one spent like 2 weeks in Florida. Last year, she spent a month and a half in Australia. So, one of them we have a Dream Manager program here. And for those of you that aren't familiar with it, there's a great book by Matthew Kelly called The Dream Manager. And the Dream Manager is the employers helping the employees achieve their goals. Like tomorrow here in my office, I have about 7 people coming in here, and I'm teaching them how to do a home budget. Like actually how to budget their money. Because no one's ever taught them that. They never learned it in school. It's something that they need to learn.
That's a perfect example of culture, because you are not getting a direct, obvious benefit on the surface value of you just investing in them as a friend, as a human, as a young man or woman. You're doing that. You're going to get a huge ROI in the back, because you're like, these people are going to go to war for you. And I know me and you know that, but some of the people listening to this are thinking, what, you're doing a budget? Or that's what culture is. It's not just a task or to-do list on how to clean a thing or how to change a ball bearing in a pressure cleaner or how to clean a carpet or how to mow a lawn. It's deeper than that. It's personal. It's emotional. That's how you build a team to go to war, to go to the Super Bowl. And the Dream Manager thing, just last caveat, because I'm passionate now, is Lisa McQueen was on my podcast and brought up that book, and I hadn't heard of it until she brought it up. And do you really think it's an accident that Lisa, who has a $5 million company, who's obsessed with culture, and is talking about Dream Manager, which is doing all the things Brian's talking about, getting inside your employees' heads and helping inspire them to go, helping them achieve their own dreams. Zig Ziglar said, the way to get what you want is to help as many other people get what they want. That's what Brian's talking about. And then Brian, who has this killer automated business with this A Player team, is using the same thing. I just hope you're understanding how big of a deal culture is, and there's not an accident that you're both talking about Dream Manager and just the philosophy behind it. I have the same philosophy too, and that's why I've had success.
Mm-hmm. Now you don't have to just give to your employees. Like we have a thing where if you pick something that costs more than $2,000 and you save $1,000 of it in an employee savings account, so we take a little bit out every week and we put it in a savings account for you. Once you hit your 1,000, we'll give you 1,000 to achieve your dream. So maybe it's getting your first apartment or buying another car or taking your kids to Disneyland. There's a lot of people that work in these jobs. They're making $40,000 and they have all this expenses, and $1,000 really helps them out to get their family to go to Disney. I mean, some people just take that for granted. Like, I make $100,000 a year. I can go to Disney anytime I want. But, for people who aren't making that much money, that's a good deal. Now, there's a lot of things in the Dream Manager program that you can do that don't cost you any money. I had one employee last year, and we write down like 20 dreams that you want to accomplish during the year. And things that don't cost money, I get the low-hanging fruit and help him with that stuff right away. And his was that he was having a lot of financial problems, and I asked him why he was having financial problems, and the previous employer was treating him like a subcontractor when he was actually an employee. And I don't want to get into it, but there's 20 things, specific things that you need to meet in order for the IRS to consider you to be a subcontractor, and this guy did not meet 18 out of 20. So his employer should have been paying him with a paycheck and taking out unemployment and FICA and everything else, but he wasn't. On top of that, the guy didn't pay him. He was selling like T-shirts and stuff into like beach communities, like at the on the boardwalks and stuff. And some of that stuff is like delayed orders, and you don't get paid till it ships and that kind of thing. So this guy, we figured out this guy owed him like $15,000. So I wrote this guy a note on my employee's behalf, like my employer wrote it, and the guy paid him in 2 days. Because basically it said, hey, listen, I was an employee, not a subcontractor, and I talked to the state about it, and I'm going to end up going to the state, but they said you get like $30,000 in fines. I just want to know if you want to straighten this out. Boom, he had the check.
So you do the Dream Manager program, you get deep and personal. The guy tells you about a pain point. He got screwed out of $15,000, which isn't your problem, quote unquote, but it is because you care about this person. You spend a few minutes, make a letter, and get him $15,000. Now, here's the question. Who does that? And what is that guy's response going to be this year when he goes out and goes to war for you, when he's working? Like, it's going to be massive. How do you even quantify something like that? It's so awesome.
You can't, number one, you can't quantify that, but the Dream Manager works two ways. Like, I told my employees what my dream is, and my dream is to become a better leader and learn patience, because I'm a very fast-paced guy, and a lot of times I talk too fast. I tell people to do stuff. They don't do it, and then I get impatient with them. So I told everyone to hold me accountable. And if I'm not being patient, Just put your hand up in front of your face and say, Brian, please be patient. They will make me a better leader. Then secondly, I said to them, this is what I want. I want a group of people. I want you to come together as a team, everyone to know their job, do their job the way it's supposed to be, give 110% to the company so that you make more money because they all get salary plus a bonus, and so that you make more money. But I can get up every morning and not have one worry on my mind. I know that everyone is doing their job today. Everything's going to go smooth today, and I don't have to worry about a thing. And to live a life in peace without worry is my dream. And I think most business owners know that feeling you get in your stomach. In fact, Josh, you talk about that. You say you work better when you have that feeling. Like when you get to be my age, you don't want that feeling anymore.
What I really mean by that, and that's a good point, but what I really mean is that sometimes people don't take the real action that's needed. They don't do the real things that are needed until their back's against the wall or the ships are on fire a little bit. It's like sometimes you have to forcefully put yourself in a position to make yourself better. And actually, what you just described is what I mean. When you tell your whole company, all these young bucks that don't know, anything yet, they're good, they have a lot of potential, and you tell them you're allowed to hold me, your employer, accountable to be patient, that is you putting your back against the wall. Now you're stuck. Now you're screwed, but you're stuck in a good way. You're stuck because it's going to help you get better. And people don't like to be uncomfortable. And that's going to be uncomfortable, Brian, the first time that happens. But guess what? It's going to give you what you want because you actually want to be more patient and all those things. So I think that's just amazing.
Well, also, as part of our culture, we have a leadership development program because if you don't have leaders, you don't have enough staff to grow leaders throughout the organization. You have no capability to delegate, predict anything. You're shot. You're stuck. You're the guy that everybody goes to for every single thing. Your face is the face on the website. Everybody calls Brian, and everybody's got a question for Brian all day long. Leaders by definition solve problems. That's what we do. But one of the problems as a leader that I have to do is find out my problem is that I'm the go-to guy. So I have to create enough leaders to put a layer between me and that gets rid of the knot in your stomach at 6 o'clock in the morning when the phone rings, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I told this story maybe before, but I used to work for Quicken Loans. It's owned by a billionaire named Dan Gilbert. He also owns the Cleveland Cavaliers and a whole bunch of businesses, but they're huge on culture, and they're always voted like the #1 place to work for by Inc. magazine and all this stuff. And one of the craziest things that happened when I was there was a lady who had just a normal admin job, like making $40,000 a year. She's walking into the building. 2,000 mortgage bankers work in this building. It's huge, and it's right by an expressway. And there's a huge sign in the building that says Quicken Loans, and the sign was burned out, like the light bulbs in it. Something was broken with the sign. And it's real early. She gets there. She grabs her cell phone. She calls the sign company. She has them come out and fix the sign. She pays for it with her own credit card. Okay? It's like a couple grand. And then she doesn't even tell anybody she does this. And then what happened was a couple weeks later, she brought the receipt in to like HR, and she's like, hey, I fixed a sign. But that's the kind of culture that he was driving. And then, word got out and it became a story, but she wasn't looking to do anything. That's just what it was like there. And what an incredible work environment, right? I mean, to have people that make decisions without asking you every single question every single time they make a decision, that's a huge benefit and blessing when everything isn't ran through you. A lot of people listen to this all day, every day. All they're doing is talking on the phone with their employees and their techs, asking them little stupid questions that they could make a decision on if they had leadership, if they were given permission to exercise leadership, right? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
So if you're hiring A players, you're hiring people that you do have the ability to delegate to. And A players get bored quick. So A players, you need to create a leadership development program. Like we have a training program that teaches guys how to use the floor machine, how to clean pool concrete, how to do vinyl siding, how to do composite decks, and explains how composite decks are made and roof cleaning. So it's all online. So we have filmed every single thing that you could possibly do in our company has been filmed. And every time something new comes up, we film it. It all goes up on YouTube. We have a program that we use that we tell you all about it in the in the program that you and I are working with, and they can go in there and make their own training program like we have. So there's a video, then a quiz, then a video, then a quiz, and it teaches everybody what to do. So as part of our onboarding process, we bring everybody through that training all the way through a level 2 tech. We bring them all the way through, and then I say, okay, you all understand it. They got it, yep. And I say, okay, now I'm going to reset all this, and you guys go home and do it, and I want it done by next Friday. So I want them to do it again. So it's totally stuck in their head the actual functional process of doing the job. And then we go out in the field. So they're not even in the field until they watch this thing twice and answer all the questions.
Well, and this has been so valuable. Regardless if, people feel they want to get this course right now, I can promise you guys it's extremely well put together. And I want to give people a rundown of kind of what's in this thing as we wrap it up, Brian, because we could just talk forever and ever, but people can get access to it. It's going to be very inexpensive because I know you really want to help people. It's called the Automate Grow Sell Ultimate Rockstar Employee Toolkit. And so it's a series of different things. First of all, it's a video training Brian shot in Florida, beautiful Florida, teaching step by step exactly what he does through all 5 steps to the recruiting, interviewing, hiring, training, development, the culture, all that. The video's teaching it. They're in bite-sized chunks. There's actually 2 sample job interviews that Brian did with other people in there. Tons of documents, scorecards, the questions to ask people's references, the whole, application process and everything broken down in great detail. Plus he shows us how he does his actual technical training using an online platform that's very inexpensive. He does a screen share, teaches you how to do it. You can build your own training programs. It has everything. It has the whole shebang. We're going to get you more details. We're going to have a webinar about this. I'll get everybody more details on that stuff. It's coming out very soon. Do you have any final thoughts, Brian? I'm sure you're excited to get this out there.
Josh, I think it's really beneficial. I wish I had something like this 20 years ago because it sure would have ended a lot of headaches for me. That's for sure. I do notice that one thing on looking on the forums on the Growth Vault and Automated Growth Cell Boot Camp, there's so many people that have trouble hiring people, and if you for the cost of this product, I mean, do you really want to figure out all the hard knocks like I did? I don't think so. It's just not even worth the hassle. So I would just say, why, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I just learned by other people what other people did, and this is already done. The wheel is done. So if you want to just get rolling, just pick it up.
Yep. And people are really excited. In fact, we have people on a waiting list already. I haven't told you that, but people are messaging us, and because this is a big pain point, and the cost of a mishire isn't just a huge financial cost, it's emotionally draining. And what can happen with a service company is you're excited in the spring because maybe you're in the boot camp or maybe you're in the growth vault or you're trying to systemize your business. You're excited and you interview and you make some hires and you're sure that they're good, but then they're not. And so now it's April, May, June, and things fall apart. Well, that can ruin your entire season. All the momentum, everything you've had in place, everything you had planned for all winter can fall apart. Now, no system is literally perfect, but I can promise you guys that when you dig into this material and the light bulbs start going off one after another, you don't have to recreate the documents. You don't have to think of the questions. You don't have to do anything. You just replicate this stuff. And a lot of the documents in here, Brian, we converted to editable PDFs so you can type right into the thing. It's amazing. The point is count the cost emotionally of what it would mean to you to get derailed halfway through your year because you approached the hiring process incorrectly. And all of us approach it incorrectly at first until we learn more information. Brian learned. He learned through pain and suffering, through a lot of books and networking with other people that are successful. So you can have access to that. It's extremely inexpensive. I think it's probably too inexpensive, but that's good because it'll get in the hands of more people. And I appreciate you spending a significant amount of your vacation time doing this, and it's been a pleasure to work on it with you. I'm proud of it. I'm excited to get it out to the world, Brian. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Oh, you're welcome, Josh. Thanks a lot. And to your listeners, the cost of hiring the wrong person is 3 times their annual salary. It's very expensive. So hire the right people.
Yeah, well, because of those ancillary reasons, like you said, the disruption of workflow around the people around them, and the A players that quit, and people get discouraged, and even your good employees, don't want to come to work. I'm just rebeating a dead horse here, but the passion is real, and I'm sure that a lot of people are going to join the course. And you have a great rest of your spring, Brian. We'll catch up with you later.
Thanks a lot, Josh. We're looking forward to it. We've got a great team this year.
Hey, thanks for hanging out, friends. And from all of us here at the Quick Talk Podcast team, we hope you loved today's show. We hope that you were inspired to become a doer and not just a listener. Apply what you've heard today in your own business and watch things change for the better. Lastly, remember that all the money in the world can't save your soul. Seek first the kingdom of God, my friends. We'll see you next time.
For more information about the Quick Talk Podcast or Joshua's other businesses, visit our website, quicktalkpodcast.com. Have a blessed day.